Hi Year 4. Sorry it's taken so long for me to get back to you with the next chapter of Oliver and the Seawigs. I won't lie, it's been missing for a little while, and I finally found the book at the bottom of my son's toy box, just covered in all of his vehicle toys. So I have eventually found it, and now I can read you chapter 9. Hope you're all well. Okay, chapter 9. Up and up went Oliver, through the maze of the Bad Island's empty heart. It was not like climbing through a person's insides. That would have been horrid. Everything seemed to be made of stone. The only thing that told Oliver he was inside a living being was that sometimes when he set his foot down or grabbed an out-jutting bit of passage wall, the whole lot twitched. The Thurlestone was ticklish, it seemed. Oliver tried to use only the weeds and ferns as handholds once he'd worked that out. Not all of them had deep roots. Twice he nearly fell, while leaves and clumps of rooty earth went tumbling down the shaft to spatter into the black pool where the squid and octopuses were waiting, tentacles crossed, hoping that he'd fall. But Oliver was a good climber. All the mountains and crags and lost temples he'd climbed with his mum and dad had made sure of that. And before long, he was at the top. He crawled out of a crack in the summit of the Thurlestone. The water mole and the other shipwrecks loomed over him. Monkey drums boomed and stone xylophones clattered. The monkeys were having a wild old time, dancing round their fire, toasting sea anemones on sticks and painting glasses and moustaches on the old stone heads. None of them noticed as Oliver crept like a damp ghost between the trees. Soon he reached the temple. Outside its great stone entrance was a pool, and on that pool were the two glass globes that held his parents floating. Mr. and Mrs. Crisp were asleep, huddled in the bottoms of the globes, which clinked gently against each other from time to time like wine glasses. "Mum!" called Oliver softly. "Dad!" They didn't stir. Poor things, they were just as exhausted as Iris after all their adventures. "Mum!" he shouted, wading into the pool and banging his fists against the globes. Still his parents did not wake, although Dad rolled over and muttered something in his dreams. But someone had heard Oliver. A voice from behind him said, "Ha!" He turned round. There stood Stacey de Lacy, with his army of monkeys around him. Some of them were still beating their drums and banging their xylophones. One held a tray of biscuits, another a cool drink for Stacey, and two others fanned him with big peacock feather fans. The rest were just bibbling about like mad wind-up toys, full of excitement at all the mischief that lay ahead. "You," said Stacey de Lacy, pointing rudely at Oliver. "So here you are, come to thieve and sneak and spoil my plans." "I just want my mum and dad back," Oliver promised. "Well, you can't have them," jeered Stacey. "The Thurlestone needs them. They are the finishing touches on his wig. They can make all the difference. They're just the sort of thing that will make him stand out." "But why do you care so much about the Thurlestone winning?" Oliver asked miserably. "Ah," said Stacey de Lacy, "we've got a deal, me and the Thurlestone. If I help him win this Seawig thing, then he'll help me. Imagine the power I'll have with this great big giant at my command, and other rambling isles will follow the Thurlestone when they see his wonderful wig. The winner of Seawig's night is a sort of king. They'll have to do as he says. We'll stomp New York, smash London, sit on Shanghai. The whole world will tremble before us. Nobody will dare say I've got a girly name then." "But you have got a girly name," grumbled Oliver. "Monkeys!" howled Stacey de Lacy. Oliver tried to fend the monkeys off, but soon he was pinned down under a gibbering heap of them. Meanwhile, some others had gone rushing into a side chamber of the temple and reappeared, bowling a third glass globe. Some held it steady while the rest unscrewed its lid. Then Oliver was monkey-handled into it, and the lid screwed shut behind him. Stacey de Lacy grinned in at him, his leering face stretched out of shape by the thick glass. "Now the Thurlstone's wig is finished," he chortled. "Not just 2 stupid crisps, but the whole set." Tittering with mischief, the monkeys rolled Oliver away. Mr. and Mrs. Crisp had been woken by the noise and were sitting up inside their globes, watching sadly as their son was trundled past them. "I'm sorry," mouthed Oliver through the glass. A reef of dark rocks rose from the hallowed shallows, with the waves breaking whitely around it. Wet stone shone in the moonlight. The mermaids scrambled through the surf and up onto the reef's rocky ledges. There they sat, each with her comb and her mirror and her long hair blown sideways on the breeze. Their plump choirmaster bobbed like a seal in the waves and clapped his hands to get the mermaids' attention. "Just time for a quick practice, girls. Sing up." So they sang, and their voices blended with the voices of the sea and wind. All over the hallowed shallows, the rambling isles forgot their nervousness and listened. Up on the Thurlstone's head, Oliver and his mum and dad heard that song, and it sent shivers rippling down their spines. They couldn't listen for long, though. They were busy being rolled across the Thurlstone's summit by those monkeys and dangled over its edge. "Stop, stop, stop!" the fat merman shouted, clapping his hands over his ears. The song of mermaids was meant to sound strange and unearthly, but not this strange and unearthly. "Someone's singing flat," he said accusingly, glaring at the rows of singers. Iris knew it was her. She blushed deep red. The merman spotted her and pointed. "You, sing for me." Iris drew a deep breath and sang as loudly and sweetly as she could. An awful, strangled note emerged, so piercing that the nearest mermaid's mirrors cracked. "Stop, stop!" the merman shouted. "What a disgraceful racket! What were you thinking of, joining our choir with a voice like that? Be off with you!" Iris tried to explain that she hadn't meant to join the choir at all, then decided there wasn't time and splashed back into the sea. She couldn't imagine why she'd wanted to find her way home to all these silly mer people. Her new friends were much more fun. All she cared about now was rescuing Oliver. And that is the end of chapter 9.